All right, here we go. Hound dog. Two, three, four. You ain't nothing but a hound dog, crying all the time. You ain't nothing but a hound dog, crying all the time. You ain't never caught a rabbit, you ain't no friend of mine. Yeah, so that song was my gateway to rock and roll. I was 6 years old in 1956. We lived in Prince George. Didn't have a TV, but we did have a radio. And it was always tuned to the local hit parade station. So you'd hear things like Que Sera, Sera, and How Much Is That Doggy in the Window, that sort of thing. One day in July of 56, the radio did something it had never done before. It blew my mind. And with that song by Elvis. I'd never heard anything like that before. I think there were many people who had never heard anything like that before. Didn't know it was called rock and roll, but I loved it so much. I had a deal with my mom. If I was out playing in the yard and the song came on, she'd call me in. So that really began a life love of music, and rock and roll music and pop music. Yeah. My name is Brian Musgrove, and I am doing this channel. I have decided I'm going to do a channel. I'm calling it Inside the Song. I don't exactly know what it's going to be about, except I think it's going to be mostly about my songs. I'm a songwriter, among other things. And I think I'll tell stories about songs of mine and play the song. Also, I'm gonna write some songs during the episodes. That's as far as I've really gotten with my plans. They're not extensive, but hey, I'm looking just to have some fun, and maybe it'd be fun for you too. So I think I'm gonna start with a song of mine. A lot of people who know me know this song and like it. It's called Forgiven. I wrote it about 8 years ago. Now it has a story, probably the longest story of any of my songs. Well, there's two songs that have quite long stories. This is one of them. And it goes like this. I'm gonna try and just hit the high points, make it as succinct as possible, because I can go on, but often it's irrelevant. In this case, I'm going to be as specific as possible. So here's the story. About 8 years ago, well, in 2014 actually, in March, early March, I did a weekend workshop called The Mastery, which is all about accessing your creativity, kind of breaking through the barriers that you've had between you and just doing what you want. And for me, it worked. It worked really well. I got in touch with how much I love writing songs, and that writing songs and playing music has nothing to do with being a rock star. And yeah, it's really just a wonderful thing to do with a life, and something I enjoy doing. So I got back into writing. Something else that happened on that weekend was I became quite attracted to another person who was there. But that couldn't go forward for a lot of reasons. The principal reason being that she was already happily partnered up. And her guy was a house carpenter. Now, that's not relevant to the weekend, but it is relevant to the story as we go on. So just, that's something to keep in mind. He was a house carpenter. Anyway, the weekend's done. I'm writing songs again. And 3 weeks later, roughly, the week before Easter it was, in 2014, the Monday of the week that it would be Good Friday, I went to work, and then I realized that I was coming down with something, and it was something that was feeling like it was going to be pretty bad, and it was. So I went to a clinic before I went home, and the doctor there gave me prescription for antibiotics, and he said, take these. You should start feeling better on Thursday. So I went home. I was sick as a dog for that whole week. Thursday morning, I was just as sick as I was the day before. I was almost planning to go down back to the clinic and, submit my complaints. But in the afternoon, around about 3:30, I sat up in bed and I felt like I was fine, like I'm not sick anymore. And so I was so great, because the sickness was really bad. Anyway, felt great. Got up, got my guitar, and I went and Googled a song that I had been playing in my head for the whole time that I was sick, because there's always a song playing in the head, this head. I Googled this song because I wanted to play it. And the song is called The House Carpenter. The House Carpenter, yes. Which happens to be an old English ballad. It's written by Anon, who has written many great songs. So yeah, The House Carpenter, it was a ballad. I first heard it on a Joan Baez album back in the 60s. And it goes on. It's her version is 13 verses. I've seen it at 32 verses. But I played the song. I played it 3 times through. And then I thought, wow, I like this kind of song a lot, right? It'd be fun to try writing a song like this, because I was into writing. I was doing quite a bit of writing at the time. So I set out to write a song in that musical structure that The House Carpenter has. So I'll play you a bit of The House Carpenter, maybe the first 3 verses, so you can get a sense of what world I was looking at. It's not rock and roll. It's kind of a rock and roll ballad, but it's not rock and roll. It goes like this. Well met, my own true love. Well met, cried he. I have returned from the salt sea, and all for the love of thee. I could have married a king's daughter dear. She would have married me, but I forsook her crowns of gold, all for the love of thee. Well, if you could have married the king's daughter dear, you should have married she. For I am married to a house carpenter, and keep him good company. A house carpenter. And it goes on, in one case for another 10 verses, and another one for another 29 verses. But it seems like a lot of verses to cover the essential story, which is that she goes off with him. Leaves her baby behind and her husband. They go to sea. The ship sinks. They drown. And they go to hell. And so it was a cautionary tale. So my song, Forgiven. We finally got to my song, Forgiven. So now you're going to notice some similarities, particularly in the beginning. It's pretty similar, all right. The one thing that my song does not do, it's not really a ballad, because ballads tell a story. That is one of the criteria. If you're going to have a ballad, that particular kind of ballad, that old-fashioned ballad kind of thing, it has to tell a story. My song doesn't tell a story. There's a story inside of it, but it's not specific to, if you could complete my thought for me while I begin my song. Forgiven. Oh, I called it Forgiven because I felt forgiven. I was so sick, and then, bam, I was well again. It's like I fell through a doorway from, the bad place to the good place. It was just amazing. So, forgiven. In this world I pray to find, with this small light I've been given, one sweet love to lay with mine, one proud heart to believe in. Walk me through your streets of fire, right up into your kitchen. Lay me down in your bed of wire, wrap me round, for I am willing. What was lost has now been found. Who was laid down has risen. What was bent is straight and sound. What we've done wrong, forgiven. To our ship of stricken souls, on this beach we were wrecked in, there came a man who had a hold on every love that left him. There he stood at our table's head, his supper laid around him. He dropped his eyes, all he said, I made no move to find them. What was lost has now been found. Who was laid down has risen. What was bent is straight and sound. What we've done wrong, forgiven. In my heart there still remains one small piece of heaven, one clear part that can't be stained, one sweet song still playing. I hear it like a mountain stream laughing through the canyon, the music that the water brings has been my true companion. What was lost has now been found. Who was laid down has risen. What was bent is straight and sound. What we've done wrong, forgiven. What we've done wrong, forgiven. So there you have it, Forgiven. Based loosely on an English ballad called The House Carpenter. So this was the first episode, volume, chapter. I don't know what to call these things, but it's not going to be the last one. So I hope you join me again. I hope you join me soon, because I'm posting soon. I have expressed the ambition to become a big snowball at the bottom of the mountain. The idea being that right now I'm a very tiny snowball at the top of the mountain, and I want to start rolling down and getting bigger and bigger and bigger until I get to the bottom. I'll be a great big snowball, and then I will melt. But it's not really about becoming a big snowball, because, that's hardly any kind of goal. The idea is that the trip down is going to be fun. It's the ride. That's what life is about anyway, right? It's always the ride. Whenever you get there, it's never quite what you had in mind. So I would love it if you guys would join me on this ride. If you haven't already subscribed, please, if you want to, do that. Hit like if you haven't already done it. Tell your friends if you haven't done that yet. And hope you had fun. Hope you come back. See you guys.